made by for them to be able to have the food. So that's another one of those where, since we don't have some ARPA decisions made ahead of this budget cycle, that money's probably gonna have to be budgeted. In my opinion, it's gonna need to be budgeted into their general fund account for this year and just sit in there and then be potential lapse dollars into the next fiscal year. So to highlight this, we need to make a decision on the extra position, the new position. That's really the only other.
Is there an option to go back sharing the administrative person with
I don't think HR. I don't think HR has the capabilities right now with the current staff level that they have to be able to split that.
I can see
Miranda,
both departments if it's just administrative work.
yeah, so when
They're too small.
KK took over for Dan,
Yeah.
Christy moved into KK's spot, and then Miranda has kind of moved into Christy's spot. So Miranda's doing both the administrative stuff and some of the stuff that Christy was doing before. They've not hired additional staff to replace a person, so I don't think they have the capability without bringing on extra staff themselves to share that workload. And I know KK's watching because she texted me yesterday. If that is incorrect, let me know.
We deal with a lot of very technical equipment, as you know, especially when it comes to radio infrastructure. And it would be nice to have somebody who is in the office who is learning what that equipment is, especially when they're dealing with trying to make up an order and research vendors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What about the fuel increase, the 3,000? Is that a known expense that you for sure are going to see an increase next year?
Yeah. We had to actually start another purchase order blanket PO for this year because of the increased fuel costs that have occurred since the price jumped.
I would say we would definitely need to increase their M&O by the 3,000, increase in fuel costs.
Yep, I agree. So the outstanding item is the new position. I do know for sure when the September supplement comes in, if all of our numbers look okay and there's any feasible way to do it, I think it is an extremely needed position that we need to fund. With the approach that we're taking right now and the limited resources that we have, I don't know that we're gonna have the funding to be able to make that part of our recommendation for the July 1 beginning budget. I mean, we could revisit it when we get close to making our recommendation, and if there's still some money in there, this could be something that we could go ahead and make a recommendation to begin July 1. But I think where we stand in the budget process and look right now, I think we probably need to pull it for the watch list, which is consistent with what we've been doing on new positions.
I agree.
Doesn't mean we don't value the need. I mean, we do.
We see how stressed we are at times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I'm in the other room saying, "Hey, Greg, are you seeing the development down by?" I'm just adding to his stress. I know. So as of right now, what we're going to highlight on your budget is pretty much everything that you got last year, plus the additional money needed for the associated increase in insurance for the individuals that you currently have, plus an additional $3,000 for the fuel. So far, that's in there, and then the other big items will be on the watch list for now. Is everybody in agreement on that? Okay.
Christy, I thought we could highlight yours.
And we can have some conversations offline about some potential short-term help.
Ours was just taking those 2 positions out. You take out the fringe too. Okay. Wait, I thought ours was 77,000 to come out for 2 positions. Oh no, 47. Okay. It's that. It's getting rid of Rick that's offsetting. Sorry, I was looking at this. Yeah, we can highlight it.
Did we not finish the assessor
Uh,
yesterday? I think you were just gonna go in and figure out what the benefits were that was associated with the 2 new positions that we pulled to the watch list.
yeah, I did that. Let's see. Yes, we're done with them.
Okay.
Right?
I believe so, yeah. And Karen did text me yesterday in the meeting about the insurance premiums. She does not have a number yet, but she has received a letter that says, from one of the carriers, that says the rates are going up. But that's all she has at this point.
Yeah, we want to go back over general government, the items that we had follow-up questions on. Can we hit those?
Yeah.
Insurance we just talked about, so Outside legal, we sent out the amount that's been spent and encumbered so far this year. Which was 700.
For general fund, I mean, you're not talking about the jail, right? For us,
Right. Yeah. Correct. Just the outside legal for general.
yeah.
Yeah, 72. One thing with that is there's so much, you encumber a contract and you say up to, and
Right.
I mean, we're already in May. we've got checks.
Yeah, that doesn't mean we're going to spend that amount. That's just how much she has encumbered. And I don't know what that's based on. Leave it at 600, put it on the watch list.
I think everybody was kind of comfortable with that yesterday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, contract. As is, put it on the watch list. Question about the bond admin fees, the 35.
Kelly got that.
The 35 seems like a lot. I don't know where she got that.
I don't know if it's based off the 25 we have currently for bond counsel. I don't think
Well, the
so.
fees are up higher. Those are more in line, 4,000. At bond council, that's for like Nate Ellis and that group. That's not bond admin fees. That bond admin fees come, you either pay it semi-annually or annually. They're just small administrative dues.
Right.
By the trustee bank.
We had, go ahead.
Can that not come out of sinking fund? Because I know used to we had a fee in there where they charged like 0.25 or something like that.
Was that like a premium? When we did we've just always done the bond admin fees out of general government. I mean, it's
Some people charge them.
not that anytime I get an invoice, it's coming out of,
Yeah, I don't think we ever have, but I think.
I think some people do.
Mhm.
I have to ask. That's a legal thing. I don't know.
We've had bank fees this year that we did not budget for. We paid out 33,000 so far, so maybe that's what that is, rather than bond fees. Do you remember?
Uh-huh.
probation extension increase.
I think we pulled it out for now. And need to talk to policy and governance.
Okay, so we just take it out. Address it again in September. Wow. Or
Yes or no? I mean, just depends on if BOCC is inclined to increase that contract, then I think we come back and see if there's funding available for it. If BOCC is not inclined to increase the contract, then it wouldn't come back here.
I don't think we discussed court services yesterday. There's 50,000 in the request. Now, there was some discussion at the budget board when that money was transferred over to maybe just go ahead and budget it at the beginning of the year.
Remind me what that's for?
The indigent ankle bracelets.
That's right, thanks.
Didn't Grant say when he was here that he was anticipating having like 30,000 or something like that to begin the
I know
year?
we did that 50 late
Yeah,
in the year, so maybe he will.
I mean, I know that some of the elected officials talked about budgeting it from the beginning, and I don't have any issue with that at all. Where we are though, as far as the tightness of the budget and not knowing on that end exactly how much we're gonna have to have, that could be something that we look at actually budgeting in September. Because once we get to September, we will know how much they started July with. So if they start July with 30,000, then in September supplement, we could look at an additional 20,000. That way they started at 50. So I would say based on Grant's 30,000 number, and if I'm wrong on that, that's my recollection. But I would say we'd put 20,000 over and on the watch list. Rick, if you would let your boss know about that, because I know he was one that was really wanting to start that budget there. So if you would be sure and call his attention to this approach, and that way he knows about it.
Criminal justice, in the email that Karen sent out, there was an attachment also about the average health premiums of the enrollment that they've had this year. Based on the average, and just calculating the new rates, they would need an additional 267,000.
There's our $270,000.
have the new rates plugged in. They didn't use a regular estimate of needs form that already had it in.
I think they did use the new rates in their calculation.
It seemed like we were. So I thought we told them.
Health, dental, and life insurance reflects the new fiscal year 22-23. I see what you're saying, but if we're gonna take away their increase, we have to add that back. I see what you're saying. Yeah. For sure.
4.2, how much did they have in their budget for this premiums?
I don't know, I'm looking at this.
But if that's
I would say we just use your,
they've got multiple funding sources besides just the county, so just because they have an increase of $267,000, does that mean that the county is 100% responsible for funding the full $267,000 when they've got other funds?
Yeah, in their estimate, they've got 6.1 million, where the average is
3.9, 3.95.
4.2 for next year. Yeah.
Oh, I'm talking about the average for this year was the 395.
you picked up their ones
That's just their actual payout through April.
for all, no matter, regardless of where they get paid from.
Correct. Yeah,
I mean,
Well,
it's
they
all
don't-
operating.
they
It's all
only have
in
one fund, so
fund.
yeah, they don't break it out.
Right, but, thinking back to when the sheriff was running it, the sheriff had
Mhm.
the same situation. They had multiple funding sources, and you guys paid some employees from the other fund, from your special revenue or whatever, right, Brandon? And the increases in the benefits associated with the folks that were being paid out of those special revenues were absorbed in that special revenue account. The county wasn't taking on the full increase. But this is contemplating the county taking on the full increase.
It's only about 4.2 from other sources. Well, they've got that big carryover. Looks like they're estimating about 3 million from other sources, not including what we give them and their carryover. So, I don't know.
Yeah, just apply a percentage to that increase. General funds portion.
Do what?
We could apply a percentage of what the general fund portion of their total would be to that increase.
How would we know what it is?
Yeah, we don't. Without looking at their actual revenue,
They don't
and
submit
their
it
actual
to general
expenditures.
investment needs.
I mean, this is their estimate needs here. This was their estimate needs last year, so.
I just mean like there's no line items for general funds, no way to know. And all those service fees and special revenues below that are.
Correct.
So are we kind of saying we all feel like we need to give them some, we're just not sure how much? Or is someone feeling like we don't need to fund any for that increase?
Well, I think some would have to be funded up.
I do too, that's just, I
I
wanted to
don't know
make
that
sure
it'd be-
we're.
I mean, the employer increase is outside of their control, they don't have a vote on that, so.
Yeah, but their pay raises are outside of our control, and we don't have it.
But at this point, we're not funding those.
Well, yeah, we are. And then employee count of 340
Well,
instead
I
of
see what
400,
you're
and then
saying,
you go up to 400.
You know, in the past, when we've had premium increases, special revenue funds have bore the
Right.
cost of those increases without, there were a few exceptions.
That's what I
without
was-
general fund dollars.
That's what I
That's
was
true.
getting to on the sheriff, when they were running at their special revenues, that taking care of it, we're taking care of it.
Yeah, that's true.
The problem is,
They don't really have those anymore, it's all one fund, right?
It is.
well, but they have those funds, they're just putting it all into one pot.
I just mean, I don't think that they delineate that employees are paid out of something
No, they
special. Now, I don't know if there'd be any way
I don't
to,
think they do either.
for them to articulate how much, what percentage of what it would be. I don't know.
Some of the revenue streams, but yeah, all the employees are out of one fund.
And they have some more flexibility than the rest of us to find different revenue streams, because they are a trust. We are not.
So looking back at the first year when we budgeted that amount for them, that was to fully fund them based on their request for their 400 employees, right? What we gave them out of general fund would have fully funded their request for that year, along with their special revenue funds. And then last year, they saw some premium increases. We all realized some increases in the health premiums for departments, so they absorbed those last year, not giving them any extra.
Well, they use lapse dollars, I'm assuming. That was a pretty significant amount. We can't use our lapse dollars at the end of the year. On our general fund, all of our lapse goes back into the pot to be, so, and they've got 1.3 million at least. I mean, the number would started at like almost 1.6, and the latest was 1.3, but they've got that as rollover.
We're estimating 1.5 million in carryover.
I think the latest version knocked that down to like 1.3.
Yeah, this is from April. Yeah, 1336.
So even, I mean, with them keeping their rollover, whereas our departments aren't, even if we keep them flat, didn't give them anything else, they're actually having a budget increase compared to the rest of us, because the rest of us, our money that we don't use, we turn back.
We can just leave them as is and keep going through our process and come back to that. All good points about their excess and everything.
Well, if they kept their expenses as flat as possible, like the rest of us are trying to do, then the one thing that they don't have control over, which is us setting our rates, is gonna cost, at your calculation, $267,223 more next year. Their rollover of at least $1.3 million is going to be able to handle this and more. So then they would be able to have increases of $1.1 million, million or $1.1 million elsewhere within their budget that the rest of us are not able to do.
Is that a recommendation?
It's just discussion.
But we're also anticipating a loss in revenue from other sources, according to their estimate.
Yeah, 50% reduction in their other two main sources. I mean, 50% reduction in one, 47.3% reduction in the other. And their initial request, which was the 41 million, was a 29% increase to general fund. Now it's 44 million. I mean, it's well over 30% increase. I mean, to me, the sheriff's department dealt with this for a long time. They had, they had issues with declining special revenues and stuff, but we're still able to make it work without getting that high in general fund budget. I mean, so a 50% reduction in those two. I mean, what do we do next year if they say, well, we're not anticipating any revenue from those other two, and then now we're having to come up with all the rest. I mean, all of it. I think they need to be looking at some other sources. I mean, if anybody disagrees, I'm persuadable.
Well done. Are those scenarios and things that we could run by them to see if they would be applicable to using that leftover for?
I mean, they added it to
Well,
their
they've got
budget.
it. They've got
Added
it. It's factored in.
They've accounted for it.
It's to Danny's point. They've negotiated other contracts down. I don't know, because I wasn't in the room, or part of those discussions, but I mean, you can't just assume that the county is going to be able to infinitely increase on the one side when you're decreasing on the other side. I mean, there's a limit to where we're just, I mean, what percentage for, I mean, that would be over 40% of the general fund budget. Or close. In one spot that rolls over money every year, we don't, it doesn't lapse back and become part of the seed corn.
Had to work seat corn, didn't
It's gotta be said.
Exactly.
Well, that, we don't have the tax base to generate that type of revenue.
Right, I
On an annual
mean,
basis, so.
we're talking $272,000, $73,000.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just mentioning it for discussion. I mean, if we wanna add some, to it, then, I mean, we can have that conversation. That's fine. I don't know what the solution is.
Yeah, we run into a dilemma, I mean, because if we are doing a flat budget with employer benefit increases that specifically affect the general fund, other than WAG, how do we know what that number is for the trust? We think it's reasonable to give them some that are affected by that, but I don't know how you'd even.
But if our general funds, if we were rolling over our excess and not throwing it in, then we could probably tell every general fund department, hey, your rollover, we know you get rollover, so that's what you're gonna have to use to fund the additional expenses for the medical insurance premiums. I mean, if you've got that money, but we can't do that. We don't. Our money, it lapses and it goes back. It has to be rebudgeted. Theirs doesn't. They have that on top. I'm not saying that we shouldn't put anything over there. I'm just saying that I don't think what we do with general fund departments that are only funded through general fund, and that's the only source that they have. And I'm not talking about offices, because some of our offices can be split, but I'm talking about your general fund. It's not analogous to the jail, because the jail operates differently. They can roll that money over. They're not bound by fiscal year limits on those funds. So I don't think it's disingenuous to take one approach for the offices that are funded from general fund that can't lapse money versus an approach for them that can. I mean, to me, it's more like, because they have additional other funds and it's not just general fund, to me, it's like highway cash. I'm not asking you guys for extra money to fund our employees that are paid for out of highway cash. Even our general fund employees that are on highway cash for 6 months out of the year, I'm only asking for the 6 months of the general fund portion, not the other 6 months. We're funding those increases. So we can't pretend like just because the budget for the jail goes into the general fund, general government budget, that it's the same as all these other general fund budgets. It's not. It's more like a special revenue.
I would propose we put the 267,000 in premium increases on the follow-up, just for our notes, and we work through all the other departments, make sure all the other departments within general fund are funded for the premium increases and needs, and then we come back and see if there's anything left and we readdress it.
I think that's a reasonable approach.
Assuming we don't have enough to reconsider the 12 million. once we're all set. Just saying.
Danny, how much of the court clerk's general fund budget are you gonna?
County clerk. Not court.
Rick, I think you guys are tied at the hip, so whatever your decision.
If we want to jump to county clerk,
Do what?
if we want to jump to county clerk, the only increase we are requesting are for the health premiums. Increase in the premiums, and we had a shift in some single family.
We'll highlight that bad boy.
Yeah,
That's what I wanted to hear.
let's get it done.
Man, moving along now.
Everyone should.
And for the court.
Let's highlight.
Well, the increase in things. The 10,380 was increase.
Let me go back.
Rick, I don't remember if you guys, did you submit a new estimate of needs, or is
Yeah.
it still the original?
It's still the original.
Okay, there was a question that I had, and if memory serves correct, Amy was gonna look into it. You guys had 124 positions budgeted for last year, and she was asking, not showing any new positions for this next year,
Right.
but the total number of employees for insurance was 128.
Yeah, we actually average 133 employees for the last 9 months that I've looked at. Her numbers were off in that area on employees. It looked like we were adding 12 employees.
Yeah, that's what she had on here.
Yeah, but we do have 133, maybe closer to 136 employees current.
Was that what you had last year when we budgeted for FY20?
Not real sure. I couldn't answer.
Because I was thinking that it was 124 last year as well.
Yeah, we're averaging 133 STM. On a monthly break-it with turnover and all that, that's what it averages.
What about the M&O increase?
I think there wasn't it just fuel?
Cell phone, Eureka, and then the courier to the juvenile and admin offices. Yeah.
What it was last year. And fuel costs are gonna happen.
And then on your building and remodel, it was, you guys had 50,000 last year to do that project. Do you need the 50,000 again this next year? Is that to finish the project?
Yeah, I can't even tell you what was done. Was it carpet? I mean, would you know?
I think it was wasn't it the remodel across the hall?
Well, that would be. Yeah, it could.
Does anybody recall? The 50,000 for remodel last year?
No, for last.
Would that have gone through P&G? Or
I don't think so.
BOCC thing?
I don't think it did.
Was it that they didn't quite get it done and they were just still wanting the 50?
Yeah, I think the request at one time was 100,000, and then it went to 50. And I don't know if it went to 50 because the scope changed and they were just going to do 50, or if they were looking at doing 50 one year and then 50 the next year. I don't recall.
I'm pretty sure that all that's done. If it is, because I believe it's Amy's department, it's that finance division. I think there's hope that there's gonna be some changes with the assessor's office, moving them down to 3 completely, and we might get their space. It's there. So I think we would need that.
Was there an amount on the watch list too?
50,000.
Yeah, and that's just a timing issue as to when that happens.
Yeah, I couldn't remember, and it may be that they needed the 50,000. They didn't want to tie up the full 100, and so we did 50 at the beginning of the year, and then put 50 on the watch list. And now looking at doing the finishing 50,000 for next year is maybe what it is. I couldn't quite recollect. I didn't know if you remember.
I'm not up to date on that, because I wasn't there for that build out. I mean, you could have knocked me over to say, oh, Amy's moved across over the hall here. So, like, when did that happen?
We can just put it to follow up then and see.
Yeah, I'll ask. You might put remodel or / relocation. Depending on what happens with the assessment. Because we can use that for swing space down the road.
Add these to the watch list. Salary increases. Something to address in September.
Works for me. That works for me.
$378,000 increase, and that's all for health premiums.
I will say on purchasing, I've talked to Chantel briefly, and I talked to her because of a conversation that the ARPA consultant had with me about, speaking of other funding streams, there's other money that's potentially out there and available for counties to utilize, but we don't have a grant writer for Oklahoma County to be able to go out and look for grants specifically for the county. And it could be, not just, I know in the past, and I talked to Chantel because there was some talk between her and Stacy when she was still over in engineering about, there's grants available for planning and that kind of stuff. Now it's kind of gotten bigger with the ability of grants that are out there. And I mean, there's stuff out there that probably all of our different offices could potentially utilize. So I've had some preliminary discussions with Chantel to see if she would be interested. I think it would need to be discussed in, policy and governance and some other places. But I think that looking at maybe adding a position in purchasing next year, whether it would start in July or in September, for a full-time grant writer that would be available for all of our offices to be able to look at federal grants that are available, and then would also be in a position to monitor those grants. I know, Danny, your office in the past has had to kind of jump in on some of that stuff, and it's a huge burden on you guys adding that to it. Whereas in purchasing, if there was somebody that was an expert in that field and could do it, and then Chantel has other staff that could help back them up as far as tracking and all of that kind of stuff. Just thought that might be a good place to look at a grant writer for the county. I just wanted to throw that out there because I don't know what the number for that position would be, but I was talking to Chantel, and we were talking about maybe doing it here, so I wanted to mention it for a potential increase to the budget at some point, if everybody would be amicable to something like that.
That's a great
Easy
idea.
to track and see if they earn their keep.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, great idea.
Yeah, and like I said, I think it would be something that would, because if we just did it down in engineering, I mean, we could really use one down in planning and engineering, but then they're kind of just
Yeah.
in that BOCC engineering role, whereas if we do it in purchasing, then if there's stuff out there for, that's related to courts and stuff that the court clerk's office may want to apply for, or, federal grants for records preservation, or, I mean, there's all kinds of possibilities that we could utilize somebody in that area for. So it's just a thought. Do what?
They proposed that?
Well, they were talking about the other funding streams, and I asked them if we had a grant writer, would that be helpful for them when they're looking at stuff? And they were like, "You don't have a grant writer?" I was like, "No, we don't." Like, yeah, that would be helpful. So, and I had conversations with Chantel several years ago about it for engineering, and so that's kind of how that.
Just have the sheriff's office on as Captain Basin. He's good at that.
So the only increase for purchasing is the $12.50 salary. The rest is the benefits and premium increase that goes along with it.
Yeah. I say highlight it.
Yeah.
On election board, we've got an agenda item on here, but it's gonna also relate to next year's budget. The $80,000 that we had approved to move over to the election board. Doug had worked to see if they could get that on to just the one ballot, and it looks like they're going to be able to do this, and they're not gonna do the 80,000. But I'm assuming it's already been moved over, so it'll be there and just lapse back.
It'll be on budget board next week to move it back to reserve. Yes, we'll just
Okay.
lapse if we don't use it.
Can you make that just a little bit bigger, maybe? Now, this one is a little tricky because they do have that salary increase for those new temp positions, whatever, but those are for November election or getting ready for it, right? So would they be able to wait until September supplement?
Well, they weren't really adding people, they were adding another day of
Hours.
voting hours,
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's a known thing that they're gonna have to have. So I don't,
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it
To me,
voting hours just for the general election, not the
No, it's even-
runoff?
I just put gubernatorial elections, so that would be the whole, I'm assuming the one in November. But they're adding a whole nother day to early voting.
They do a lot of training. And they do it far in advance, so. But that's just an extra day. So it sounds like you gotta do it.
I think this is one that we do need to fund the extra
Too.
salary expense at July 1. And I also think on the ballots, the $30,000, I think that's gonna have to be done up front too, because they're gonna have to order those things and get all that stuff out.
They did receive in last fiscal year some grant type funds. I think they were COVID related. Don't think she was aware of it until maybe Mike had talked to you about it. Do you know the balance that's in there now?
I think it's 137,000.
How much?
137 maybe, 137,000. But I know there may be some restrictions to that.
Yeah, so why don't we do this on this one? Can you guys get back with her and kind of iron that out, see if that money is available to be spent on the items that she's gonna need early on in the year, and then we can come back to this budget, because that might free up some money there.
that anymore.
Did that bill pass? You know?
What bill?
That, I think there was a bill that said that outside government groups couldn't fund elections or election boards and that kind of stuff. Pretty sure there was a bill like that.
Like, did they get reimbursed by the municipality?
Hmm?
Do you mean like how they get reimbursed
No,
by
No,
the
not that.
no, not
It's
that.
just like extra.
It was like last year or 2 years ago when I think Zuckerberg and others had those big grants that they were giving out to local county election boards to help, defray added expenses for stuff. And I think there's legislation that says you can't do that anymore. But I don't know if it was passed and signed or not.
We'll follow up on that, and come back with that info.
And while you're reaching out, let's make sure that if that was legislation and if it was signed, does it affect a previous grant? Will they be able to use it on expenses for this next election? Or if it was signed into law, I think we need to make sure that they are tracking that. Because it could be that they have the money sitting there, but they can't use it on anything going forward if it was signed into law. If it was an emergency, it would go into effect benefit before. Or it would go into effect before November 1.
It sounds like we may need to ask her to maybe come back if we do meet again this week and address some of those. But yeah, we'll reach out to her.
You're supposed to let me know when you cap. The extra day come from law, or is it just they want another voting day, or?
I don't know.
I don't
I don't recall her mentioning that. That's a good question. I don't know.
Why if it's just, well, if any bill expanding on the voting or. I'm not sure. I mean, all this is gas and conferences, stuff for Indeed, national background checks, software to do job descriptions, CDL licenses. It's just all. There's an increase in employees' benefits, so it's just whether we hold them. You're about 17,550 increase once you take out the increase in fringe overall.
Chelsea looked at it Wednesday, to the calendar on election. For second to fifth or 9 days, or in-person absentee.
All right, people. What do you want to do?
So it's less than a $20,000 increase
Yeah.
request.
17,550. Gas, conference registrations, Indeed for advertising, national background checks, software for job descriptions. I wrote train in a box. And then some money for some CDL licenses. Watch list everything and ask her of all these things. I mean, all these are great things to pursue. More training, Indeed for advertising. I know countywide we're kind of struggling to hire people. I know our office is. I'm all for background checks.
Well, and the
But it
background
just,
checks, I know.
are you really gonna get all this into play?
The background checks, I know that is something she's wanting to do immediately, and that will be
Which is good to know.
a contract that she'll need to do. I think that was
Yeah, that was professional.
1,800 or something.
1,800.
Yeah, what I was gonna say was if we wanted to just do this one as is, but take out the capital increase, the 8,000. That way, I mean, we can watch list it, and she can also see if that would be a ARPA eligible expense, and maybe be able to fund it there. And if she can't, then we can look at funding that in September.
That's good to me.
Sounds good to me. Let's keep moving. How far do you want to go today?
As far as the driver will take us,
I'm here all day.
I think, Chrissy, you need to be done by 3, right?
I can stay till 3:45. I moved what I had to. I gotta leave by 4.
I'm learning at 2:30.
You are.
Well, yes.
You know what Willie used to tell me?
I'm scared even
Brady, what'd you say?
I have to leave at 2:30.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, if we're gonna go longer, maybe a 5 or 10 minute break. But if we're gonna just kind of go to.
Budget board's next Thursday.
I know.
Hey,
All right.
pretty far along. How far
Yeah.
along are we, Eddie?
Oh, let's
So that again?
Did you highlight that one?
I will.
Before we take a break, let's highlight it and let's see what we have left.
Randy will give you permission to vote for hers.
Well, I want to see if there's anything,
That's scary too.
if there's any left on here that Brandy wants to be here for.
Yeah, Brandon's. I mean, if we're gonna be consistent with what we're doing,
No, obviously. We can trust the process.
Music to my ears.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
No. But sometimes I wonder if she said it in the oven.
Oh, wait.
Okay, I will say.
We're down to that. But we have nothing in reserve. No use.
Do that.
Employee
Well, chipping away.
employee benefits should be quick. Wasn't
Do the
there,
bottom sections.
what,
You mean the department?
yeah,
It was all premium increases.
right, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
MIS is lower. Yeah, I like that, brother.
Yeah, for sure.
A new position.
Well, but they were switching, they eliminated 2 positions and are doing a different one.
Still your requests. So, 100 grand and change lower.
You can do District 3. We just have an increase in salary that we can table until September. Aside from the I can increase.
Lower.
Do we want to highlight MIS?
I mean, I'm fine with highlighting MIS. Is everybody else? Okay. Had a request to look at District 3. So you said we can move the salary increase to September? Is that what you were saying, Chelsea?
Yeah.
Is that a new position?
For the new
increase?
position?
There's not a salary increase.
Yeah, the
Looking
37
at
through 35.
Is that person on board already or?
this position right here.
Okay.
constituent services.
Yeah, that can be tabled until September.
Did you have benefits? I mean, not benefits, but insurance on that new position? It doesn't look like it. No.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Was there any other increase on there?
There are a couple, but
Mileage.
I think we can just hold those until September supplement.
The mileage and the project reimbursement?
And
Sounds good.
Looks good.
About economic development, we put 100,000 on the watch list, maybe 200,000 like it was last year.
I've not seen the contract for economic development for this year. Have you seen it, Brandy?
Mm-mm.
I mean, we can do that, but the 100,000 over there, I've not seen anything. What do you think, Brandy?
200 and 100.
100,000 on watch list.
Mm-hmm.
engineer was a lower request, actually.
So it's social service.
Write a couple notes from her presentation.
Yeah, the utilities are gonna be, I'm assuming, shifted up to general government with those other utilities. That was for
So she's
the
moving.
facility she's in now, but she won't be there. So it won't come out of her budget. I think there was a little bit of buffer up there in utilities, right?
A little bit. Yeah, once we lowered it, there's still a little bit of
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
took all those out.
Yeah, I mean, it's already, how much lower?
$221,000 net with the increase.
I said we highlight it. Anybody disagree?
Planning commission forward.
Okay, real quick, before Brandy leaves. I'm assuming we're gonna wanna get together again, regardless of how far we get on this today, before we have a final, we have to, because we need, election board, information. So what does everybody's availability look like?
Christy, did you say you were out Thursday, Friday?
Yeah, I'm off the next 2 days.
Okay,
But if
so,
you guys,
well, we can shoot for Monday or Tuesday. I mean, budget board's Thursday. So,
if you guys wanna work, I can see it. Denise can sit in, but I agree with Brandy. It's with the approach we're taking is pretty consistent, so. Y'all are welcome to meet without me, is what I'm saying.
Well,
Not
could we
with me.
meet either Thursday or Friday and then meet again, like say next Monday when Christy's available?
Oh, that way we can tie up any loose
Right.
ends on Monday, kind of make Monday our last.
Right.
now,
Tie
Right.
things up.
I'm on Thursday, I'm not available. Friday, I am in the morning. But you guys can meet without me and Christie if you have to.
What?
I'm expendable, you're not.
If, I'm more expendable than you.
When are
Trust me.
you available Friday?
Until about 12:30. I have a doctor's appointment in the afternoon.
Friday is no good for me.
And Thursday is no good for you?
No, I'm out all day Thursday. What about, can we not just do Monday at 10 o'clock after VOCC?
I'm
Have
open.
election board be here,
Okay.
and then we can just,
I won't be here. That's okay. You guys need to move on.
what time will you, are you around Monday?
I can do afternoon,
Get another woman at the table, get this done.
busy till 1:30.
Harsh.
Too many long calls.
We can do 1 to 3
Yeah, we could do, does 1 o'clock on Monday work?
until 3.
Yeah, 1 to 3. Okay, all right. I just want to make sure before you got out that we got your input. We'll set that at the end of the meeting when we recess.
Perfect. Thank you.
You bet. Got plenty of time.
I'll get on that 5-minute break Christy was talking about.
You guys want to break till 2:45? Is there a motion to recess till 2:45? Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. You know, I keep saying that I'm gonna stop procrastinating, but I keep putting it off.
Good try. Good try.
Did you say you're out all day Monday?
No,
I'll be,
That's what they do.
should be done between 1 and 1:30.
You can turn the volume
We've
down.
Camera's rolling.
Is the audio on?
I muted it. Don't want to hit unmute.
Mr. Warren, for some reason wants a list of all employees and their salaries. Current.
The whole county.
Someone payroll is
You need a break, camera break.
as in monthly, not total.
It's just like the current, most current month. Criminal justice also.
Oh, yeah.
Aaron, how's life treating you?
I think it was
Fabulous.
last week, you weren't here last week, was that, or the week?
That's fabulous.
It'd be more fabulous if
Seems like weeks ago.
this meeting were adjourned. I could have done it.
She's gonna.
Well, you got,
Yes.
maybe Monday at 3 o'clock.
She will do it.
He
Hey,
just
but-
knows Haney's.
But think about the way it used to be and how long.
You're right,
We've really kind of cut down on.
yes,
It's more confused.
streamline the process.
She kind of explained to her. So,
Sitting back
that's
there,
understanding.
we spend the time up front. We all really get to know exactly what's in here. It'll save time.
She had gotten confused with the 133 and
And I'm gonna.
And I was hoping that that would work.
she thought
I'm
we
probably
were
gonna steal your idea
look
next year
like.
for next year.
Yeah.
Look.
You know, the downside is these
But
take up
she just.
quite a bit of space. But the reason why I did them instead of the little
Can we just
sleeves is when I do those little sleeves, sometimes it's so hard to
Send
get
it
them
to me,
apart and get other stuff out and all of that. And
It's rare that he looks at emails.
Okay.
I actually get all his emails and sometimes respond to those. And on the drug test, did you say it was 50 total or we're putting 20 in?
The estimate,
Oh, the ankle bracelet?
Yeah, the ankle bracelet. And the drug test, did you say we're gonna fund it at 50 or?
well, what was said
We got a
earlier,
quorum.
yeah, this has already been said though. Can I say exactly?
No, cause.
Okay.
Is my question?
Yeah, we can't,
Yeah.
no, we can't talk about it,
Oh, it's just.
cause we got a quorum in the room.
Put it on.
Rick, as soon as we get back,
I'm a little rusty.
I'll address it and then,
Yeah, I just want clarification.
So what's wrong with your car, Dan?
Embarrassed to say,
we don't have a quorum now.
when we drove up to Mount
Just
Rushmore,
wait.
pulled into a convenience store somewhere in South Dakota.
Did the walls
I backed
coffee?
into like a wall or something. You know how they have those big gas tanks out there or whatever.
You backed into a gas tank?
and then just the wall, like a cement wall. We were yucking it up, laughing about something, and I wasn't paying attention. So the last 2 hour drive to where we were heading was not fun.
Sioux
Total
Falls?
silence.
Was it Sioux Falls?
We ended up going to Deadwood.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, stayed in Deadwood.
that's nice.
You weren't dragging a bumper or anything like that.
No, thank goodness. No, it wasn't that bad.
It's even cooler on a motorcycle.
I bet. Yeah. It's a long ride.
Did you go see the Badlands?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. It's amazing. Yeah, it's gorgeous up there.
Oh,
I knew a kid from, a person who worked at Mount Rushmore from high school.
Okay.
So he took me up just behind them and all the stuff that you normally don't get to see.
That's so cool.
It's pretty cool.
That's so well done. That Mount Rushmore, just the whole thing.
You know what the cost of that project was?
I watched the film, but I don't remember.
$1 million.
Yeah.
And the feds wanted to shut it down all the time.
Yeah.
This is costing too much money.
Did he show
but
you
they
the
needed it
treasure
to
room?
hide all the gold.
I was gonna say, did he show him the treasure room on the movie?
Yeah.
You get to put your hand inside the rock?
Yeah, you know, would you do that?
No.
I would.
You would?
I think,
Put your
but
hand down or rock up and.
I wouldn't use my right hand though.
I would.
I would use my left hand.
What is in there?
I'm
Just a
right-handed.
just-
I mean, that way if you lose
Anything.
the ability to use your hand, it's not your dominant hand.
You
I mean,
thought
he
about
was
this.
right-handed. Yeah.
Well, you go with me then, so whatever happens, you.
The way my
You put
brain
your
works
hand
is scary.
Did you see the Big Chief sculpture?
Crazy Horse. We went to that. Highly disappointed. It was like
Work in
they've been working on
progress.
this for 50 years. That's all they got done.
Funding's an
We're
issue.
taking an old beat down school bus to get a little closer. An extra $6 a head or whatever.
It's
Like,
like,
there's nobody up there working on this.
I was reading an article
Yeah, I gave you a little
today
tip to help out.
about water issues in California, and you know, there's some different issues with the Sacramento River and whatever. And I had never realized, you know, just east of San Francisco, they've got all those sloughs and where the California Delta comes in. Have you ever looked at that on Google Earth? I was, because it was talking about all these islands that look like a jigsaw. And when you're talking about Mount Rushmore, it made me think, because after seeing this, I want to go see it in person. When I've been out there, I've never gone over there, but look on Google Earth, just do California Delta, and you look, and it's all this area that it literally looks like a jigsaw with the river running through. It was just weird, because I never heard of it.
Did you hear about the bodies they're finding in
Yeah.
Yeah.
census?
Yeah, the lake
In
mead.
the barrels.
Well, and that kind of tied back
Mom.
in
we're
with
gonna
the,
take you on
with the issue, but
crawl in.
they said that if they get an earthquake, a significant earthquake, that the levees that they have there are basically just built on the sediment and stuff that's underneath, that they go, and then all the salt water will come in from the Pacific and just completely ruin all the drinking and farming water that they use out there. So, all right, it's 2:45. Is there a motion to return to open session?
Motion to return.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hey, Rick, what we were talking about earlier
Yeah,
on
20
the
grand on court service.
court services was Grant is anticipating that they will have $30,000
Right.
at the end of the year. So we're contemplating putting 20,000 on the watch list.
Okay,
So
Okay.
in September, when we fund that, it'll be at the 50,000.
gotcha. Thank you.
You bet. Aaron, thank you for keeping us on the straight and narrow.
We can run through ours again, it's on here. No. Alright, so in our estimates of needs submission, we did have an increase in, M&O. We were asking for additional money for licenses, for some of the contracts that we have. And we did ask for an increase in transportation and motor vehicle fuel. We are prepared to leave that flat, preferably to put that on the watch list until September. So that would net out 256,000 of the increase. Just a second. Okay, so the other part of that increase was $171,000 in salaries and benefits, and that was for 6 new positions that we're asking for. I mean, obviously, I'm cognizant of the approach we're taking, so I have been asked to at least ask for those positions. So 4 of those positions, especially that we're running into, are for our process and travel team, and they are significantly behind in doing things, and doing the process and getting extraditions post-COVID. Again, I'm totally cognizant of the approach we're taking, where we're at. And so, in the event that there's not an appetite to approve that, one thing that I would like to request is that, if we were to net out all those new positions, we did save $86,726 in our salaries this year. So at a minimum, is there a way to, if that were still funded, we could put 2 of those positions in place for that process and travel team, and it would still net a little bit of a savings over what we got last year. And then on the employee benefit side of that, last year we had 148 positions, and even with those, even if those 2 were approved, again, I know it's kind of a little bit different than what we're doing, but that would still put us at 145 positions, so it put us 3 less than what we had last year if we removed those 6 and added 2, if that makes sense. That particular unit, I mean, they're drowning over there. And then even another option potentially might be, again, to maintain consistency, and if there's no appetite to push those positions through, then perhaps leaving those salary dollars there and maybe allowing us to utilize that as overtime for some of those positions, that because some of them work, that most of them work 4 10-hour days, and so maybe providing them some overtime so they can work on some of those on the Monday or the Friday if they're off. So if we were to, if that request went down to 2 of those positions, that would put a that would put the salary ask at saving $4,606 over last year's amount that was given. Again, reducing that to 2, and then the health benefits with that would certainly go up just because of the change, even though there's less employees on the plan. And then we would still be not asking for the 8,400 in travel, and then maintenance and operation would be flat.
So from a money standpoint, and that's what we're kind of trying to line up here. From a money standpoint, 2 of the 6 would keep you where you are currently, money-wise.
Yeah.
Give or take.
Yeah, a little bit less, yeah.
So.
Again, I'm totally cognizant and totally appreciative of where we're at. I don't want to
I mean, I think we at least do that. I mean, if we don't do that, then you're going backwards, and we don't need, I mean, as a county, I mean, I understand that you guys are short-staffed, and if we do go backwards and then you need to go forwards later, not only are you gonna have those 6 positions to make up, you had lost the other as well, so.
I mean, you might be able to double check my math, Danny, if you've got the Excel version of that, but, I've made another estimate to me that I can just punch the numbers in to see. And the way that I split out the benefits on those 2 new positions would be a single and a family. Of course, again, that's just a guess. I don't know how that would pan out, but.
You wanna leave it at the 8172?
That's for last year, yeah.
Right.
So like if you were to go to the salary comp sheet, for example, and scroll down to the, so where I'm on the employee benefits, take out the 3 and the 3 and put a 1 and a 1 under the new. And again, that's just a guess. And then up at the top, or I'm sorry, not at the top, but under the new positions, cut that process and travel in half. So I think that number ends up being 82, 119, 84. And then we could zero those out, the ones below. Well, not zero them out, but watch list them. And then that would go to 2, 1 and 1. Or I'm sorry, 2, 0 and 0 on the FTEs over there. So it would look like a net increase on positions because it would be a net increase, but dollar wise, if you go back to the budget request worksheet, I think yeah, so it actually would still be a savings because we have restructured that division in anticipation of a need. So we've made it less, I guess, top heavy would be the right word to use. And so we've modified some position structures in that in anticipation that we would need additional help over there. I mean, they're being flooded. They're doing several thousand processes a month at this point between really a handful of deputies that on very varying shifts. And then, so again, you could flat that out, but I mean, this would be a resubmission of our estimates of need, but
Right.
just putting that on the putting those on the watch list, certainly, I know it's kind of complicated, but I'm happy to field any questions or whatever the case may be, so.
Makes sense to me.
College, yeah.
Just look right, room.
So. Yeah, 13, yeah. And then the rest, we could break that down for the watch list. I guess you could just tag those numbers over there. Because we definitely will need those other 4 positions at some point. And then the increase for fuel and travel that's associated with those.
it's all related to new positions, right?
No,
No.
the 103 would be an increase for,
That's the
fuel and, transportation.
Is that part of the
That's the
two?
salary benefits.
Oh, you already got that, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, no, you're right, yes, you're right. That's my fault. So I don't think we'll apply very well.
What's that 103?
I'm a little lost in the 103 too, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
okay, yeah, let me go back to you.
Yeah, the difference should be,
Where'd it go?
well, yeah, it'd be the difference of what the original ask was of 342 to 238, 146. So
Okay.
whatever that number is.
So yeah, once we made these adjustments to the benefits and the salary and then the FICA,
Okay. It's got insurance for 2, or I'm sorry, for 4, and all FICA.
Yeah, so even with the addition of 2 new positions, our insurance ask will drop just by nature of who's taking benefits this year.
let's do the new positions column.
I approve that number. Yeah. Sorry, Danny.
I think we're good. So, okay. The total net increase, just because of the premiums, you added some more single family, whatever. And the total increase over last year's budget, 225. That's
With 176 of that being employees.
because of the
Yeah.
increase, right?
So all the increase has got to be insurance premium because there's nothing else on the budget
Well, I
request
think-
worksheet that's.
Well, I think it changed some of the
Yeah,
allocation.
we've got more family and less.
So that's gonna increase it.
Okay.
But just because of the total increase, that's 176,000.
Oh, just the 6.8%?
Yeah.
Okay,
The rest is shifting from single to family.
okay.
Very good.
Yeah, I say we go ahead and do that, and then kind of like some of these other items, when we get done going through everybody's, if we got a little bit of room, then we can always come back and look at the other new positions.
Line down
That is with 700,000 for capital projects.
Yeah,
Something we
that's
haven't
true.
discussed. We budgeted 300,000 last year. That's the total request, the 700. We have out of the 300,000 this year, we've still got 240,000 that hasn't been allocated, which would carry forward if you guys don't end up using it.
So there's still 240,000?
240, yeah, of the 360,000 already been appropriated to a project. Well, we still have 7,000 from the prior year. 247,000.
And the request this year again is 300,000?
7.
The total request was 700,000.
Oh, okay.
So with the 240, and if we take them back down to 3, we still have 500 some of that.
So how about this? How about we do 60 and then put 240 on the watch list? That way, maximum to get to the 300,000. If we put 60 in up front, would be another 240 in September to get to the 3. Or if come September,
They have really a
if
project.
they had rollover of 200,000 and we gave them an additional 60, they got 260, then we do 40,000 instead of the full 240, just as an example.
So you're not aware of any projects by end of the year for the 240? That's,
Not off the top of my head, but
I don't know of any either, so.
but there could be an emergency that comes up that they need to spend that on. I think the whole idea back when we started doing this was that infrastructure would have $300,000 to respond on items throughout the year
Right.
as they need to. And it's not to build that account up to where it's more than 300,000. So if you have a slow year, then you put less in the next year.
Does that look right? We're gonna recommend 60,000 to get back to the 300 level with 640,000 on the watch list.
40?
Yeah, because that would get to the full 700,000. It was a $700,000 request, 300,000 for the as needed, and then there was an additional $400,000 in projects.
This is the as needed.
And the 800,000 for a defined benefit plan, we've been steadily doing 800,000 for years now. So everybody good with that?
There's no chance that'll need to be 1.2, Danny, right?
Well,
I have to ask.
Don't speak that into existence.
forfeitures, the way the forfeitures have been running, we've been doing 800,000 out of forfeitures, 800,000 out of general funds. So we've been funding it at the 1.6 million. And I would assume that comes out.
Okay. Juveniles, is it already done from yesterday, or is there any changes being made to that?
We had some notes. Probably. I don't think we were done with it.
I think the capital projects need to go onto the watch list, just like the other capital items that we just discussed. And then same thing with the new positions. And then ultimately, I think what'll need to happen, we'll put the 9, whatever that is, on there for watch list now. I do think though, those items are gonna need to be discussed in infrastructure and moved forward there, and then they'll come here.
I did have a question. I was going through this morning, but after we made the adjustments yesterday, it's still left in with 2.4 million in benefits, which is about a $409,000 increase over last year. So I think that needs to follow up with her before Monday, just to figure out how it came out so high. It's all kind of worked into these two numbers here. Worked through it yesterday. It's kind of a
The 449, that was the annualization, but there was also the 100 and something for the new positions.
149.
141. That needs to come out as well.
Oh, that was that other sheet.
141, 671.
I think that you would just put on the new position line. Pull out. Yeah.
net increase from the current budget. Slight increase for Bureau. Net for the pension.
How much of that is increased premiums on the 561?
90.
So $470,000 increase. Other than that,
That's what I'm saying, like the benefits came out much higher, so I need to,
how much higher was it?
that's a $346,000 increase over the current benefit budget.
Oh,
So I need to look at that, and
okay.
I may have something off here, I don't know. I'll make that orange just for follow-up on the benefits. Planning commission less, quite a bit less.
Yeah.
Facilities.
They've got one new position listed, right?
Well, there's two for 9 months up in the top.
But those shouldn't be new positions up there. Those are internal vacancies.
Okay.
So why do we have 3 new positions for insurance?
One,
Well, I think that's, oh, yeah.
2 here, 1 here.
Because he broke it out into new positions and vacancies, 2 and 2. Well, but then he didn't
Yes,
put any
right, yeah,
funding
that's
for
But
it.
it wasn't budgeted last year.
Because if it was funded last year, then that $74,000 wouldn't be
Right.
new money. It would already be in there. Taking that 125 out, does that reduce their salary budget from the previous year?
Salary stays the same.
Okay. Do you want to put that in adjustments or in new position?
Watch list.
What about the Bobcats that you guys are gonna look at?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's no Bobcat.
I think in there, watch item list now for the window washing too. Current watch list.
Mm-hmm.
$25,000. We must have put it on there last year.
Any thoughts on this one? I don't, and I should ask him a little bit more about it, but on the motor vehicle fuel, I understand fuel's going up because it's more expensive. But, I mean, that,
An extra $1,000 a month.
yeah, I mean, it's almost, I mean, it's not quite double, but it's pretty close, and I don't know.
Yeah. Well, then it also too, under the 2 trucks, their replacements, we need to do 1 now and hold off on the Bobcat, and we obviously put the window washing, it's not like we're zeroing out window washing. We're just getting less washes.
Yeah. Do we wanna just put
Question the
the
fuel.
increases from capital, the increase amounts onto the watch list?
$23,000 even with the increases. Wait, that doesn't make sense. It should be way more. That formula, it didn't come over on the replacements in the Bobcat.
Yeah, I think that you fixed yours then.
Yeah.
It's fixed, because ours doesn't have the 15, 20.
This is my first copy, yeah.
Our initials. It just has it in the current ask, but not the difference column. Your sheet's right.
Christie, you wanna do the same thing on the M&O increases, or do it line by line?
We can for now. And just have them come kind of talk to us about, have another round after our recommendation.
I mean, going into September,
Right.
he'll have a better idea of what some of those numbers look like, and
I think I said so.
You can just do a percentage increase.
Net decrease of 3,400. Good.
That was a net decrease, even with the increased.
Yeah, I think they had a decrease in travel. Yeah, 3,300.
Yeah, but their insurance should have gone up quite a bit because of 6.8%.
I mean, net. He wants you to net out.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Total increase from last year, 15,000.
Okay.
Still,
I 40% increase.
40% inflation. Where we're going, and we'll get there.
I mean, we definitely need toilet paper in the building, but geez.
You'd think that you could get that stuff for free.
Right.
Stuff they get here.
Hold on, put it on the watch list.
So the new position, the data analyst, pull it to the watch list. Did they include insurance for that position?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so benefits, including the insurance. Do they have any other increases? Female or capital?
All insurance, yeah.
That looks like a good day's work.
The election board follow up with the benefits of juvenile detention.
Wasn't there still something up in the bond fees?
Yeah, so we have the bond
I
fees
don't know what she did.
and the insurance premiums and general government. And possibly circle back around for criminal justice increase for premiums.
On your BET notes, line 68, the number should be 285, not 290. Not a big deal, but just so they match up.
Which one?
The facilities man, line 68.
Thank you. Old Oracle number. Any information this group wants before Monday, other than we'll send this out, clean it up, make sure everything adds up, send it out. Can't think of anything that we discussed.
Can you go ahead and get us some numbers on general fund, COLA? What those numbers would look like?
Do that right now.
Let's have it bottom.
What percent do you want?
8%.
What?
8.
Well, see, 3%
Well,
is.
we just saw that stuff's going up 40%.
Well,
so I don't know.
40% there.
Yeah, put that 40%.
The latest inflation number that I've seen is 8.5%.
It's
But I think if we want to do the COLA like we've done in the past, which is the CPI increase would be 8%. Now, whether we can afford that or not, I don't know. So I think maybe look at a 3, a 5, and an 8, and just see what those numbers look like. Just so everybody kind of has that in their
Yeah, we can
brain
see.
for our next get together.
All right, 3, 5, and 8.
Well, I mean, that was just, I know we got 8 and we've been doing 3 and then 5's like in the middle, but does anybody else want to see anything
I'll give the city a start.
higher, lower, more in the middle? All right, is there a motion to recess until Monday, next Monday at 1 o'clock in the BOE room?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.